Ah, something clicked on the front of the clock. This could be useful. Betty, I enjoyed a wonderful evening in your company, and I hope that we will see each other again very soon. D. My dearest Betty, I know that your art is already spoken for, but you are the most beautiful dancer I have ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I am impatient to see you again. Adrian. That doesn't work. I must have forgotten a step. Let us see. What is this cupboard hiding? This looks like solfège. This looks like solfège. This looks like solfège. This looks like solfège. That doesn't work. I must have forgotten a step. There is bound to be a clue somewhere. There is bound to be a clue somewhere. I heard the sound of a mechanism being triggered. just have to put the record on the gramophone and start it. That doesn't work. I must have forgotten. It looks like something goes.
Oh, Donald! We're in the middle of recording.
Sorry, Betty, but it's not wise. The doctor said you should rest your voice.
You're such a killjoy sometimes.
Betty was such a good singer.
It's true. Did she have any problem with her throat?
Yes, she had to be careful with her voice. Of course, she didn't follow the doctor's advice. If Don didn't insist, she...
It looks like this woman is single, but she has feelings for someone. She is looking so intensely at this photo. But is it really a sister that she's studying in this manner? They made the perfect couple, am I correct?
Yes, in a way. She was pretty and he...
Well?
He's a bright man, with a promising career ahead of him. He would have made Betty a good husband. He was always attentive and generous. Oh, a true gentleman.
I hear a note of envy in your voice.
You must have heard wrong.
Donald appeared to be very much in love with your sister.
Yes, he was mad about her.
Mad, you say? Being madly in love can often be destructive, and Mr. Fraser was known for being jealous, I believe.
No more than average. Men are always slightly possessive, especially when they are with a pretty woman.
You are a poor liar, Mademoiselle Bernard.
Excuse me, Mr. Poirot, but I do not see why you are interested in our humble little crime.
It would appear that your sister's murder is the second in a series that we have to stop as quickly as possible. The first was in Andover, and the same as your sister, the murderer sent me a letter informing me that a crime would be committed in that town. Now can I count on your honesty?
Yes, you have my confidence, Mr. Poirot. Don is a quiet and sensitive young man. Slightly reserved, too. And as is often the case with reserved people, when he flew into a temper, he completely lost control. He could be so violent. Betty was frightened.
And when was this?
The first time was about a year ago. But they rowed more recently. Donald found out that Betty had lied to him. She said she was going out with a girlfriend, but she went out for dinner with a married man. It was an awful scene. She told him that until they were married, she was free to go with whoever she pleased. Donald turned quite pale and started shaking and kept saying one day...
Well?
He'd commit murder.
So you were afraid that he would become our main suspect. I know that Fraser was jealous, but I wonder why you feel the need to protect him.
Exactly. Had you not told me about the case, I would never have dared to tell you about this little matter. Don loved Betty with all his heart. I can't imagine for one instant that he would hurt her.
Very good, Mademoiselle Bernard. Thank you for your help.
Fraser is at the Ginger Cat. The police haven't spoken to him, but they want to.
Très bien, Hastings. Let's see him now. Au revoir, mademoiselle. My deepest condolences to your parents.
Of course, Mr. Poirot. And don't be too hard on Don. He's more fragile than he looks.
If you say so. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work. You've seen Fraser, Hastings. What is your feeling?
He's a big chap. Fragile isn't exactly the word that springs to mind. I talked to his landlady before seeing him. She went to bed at 11. Fraser wasn't home yet.
Bien. Megan Barnard said he's a reserved character but with a nasty temper. We will see if this is the case. I've finished with this subject. How do you do, Mr. Fraser?
You Hercule Poirot. Mr. Hastings said you wanted to speak to me.
Yes. I know that it may not be the right time, but I would like to ask you a few questions. This man looks suspicious. Donald Fraser is in a terrible state, as if he hadn't slept all night. And he's drinking White Horse.
Leave me alone. Tell me that it's a mistake. That Betty isn't dead.
Sadly, your lady friend has been murdered, Mr. Fraser.
Oh, Betty, if only you'd listen.
If she had listened to you, she would still be alive. Should I take that to be a confession?
With that sort of thinking, you must send a lot of innocent men to prison. Under different circumstances, I might even find you amusing, sir.
It's no time for amusement, Mr. Fraser. It is time to find your fiancé's killer. Did you know what her plans were for the evening?
She said she was having dinner with her sister.
And you believed her?
And why not, sir? She was my fiancée.
That did not stop her from lying to you before. Betty was not a bad girl, but she did like to take advantage of her success with men.
How dare you sully her memory?
I am not interested in memories of her, Mr. Fraser. I am looking for a killer, and I need you to be my closest ally. That is, unless you have something to hide.
Of course I don't.
Très bien. So, what were we saying? Where were you yesterday evening?
I looked everywhere for her, but in vain. When she said she was going to have dinner with her sister on a weekday, I thought it was strange. I tried not to think about it, but I was like a lion in a cage. I was convinced she was lying. So I went round all the restaurants in the town. When I didn't find her, I went to the next town. But nothing. I must have got home about midnight or 1 o'clock.
Did anybody see you?
I don't think so. I didn't talk to anybody. I was so furious.
Ah, I knew I'd find you here, I thought the victim's young man was...
Yes, is all you. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
I don't want this young man.
Fraser doesn't have an alibi and he's extremely...
You are very skilled at summing up.
And yet you haven't asked Japp to arrest him.
It is too soon. But I agree, without the letters announcing the crimes, Fraser would already be behind bars. Bon, I think we have enough elements. Let's reconstruct the events at the scene of the crime.
I can't imagine how the murderer wasn't seen, though. Surely she must have struggled.
Let us try and imagine the scene. The killer and the victim are walking on the beach. Miss Betty has a bag, a belt around her waist, and carries her shoes in her hand. Both of them walk slowly to hut number 5. Both of them walk slowly to hut number 6. Miss Betty enters the hut. She leaves without her belongings. Then she hides a coat. They keep walking. Then she removes her belt.
The murderer moves behind her and then attacks her by surprise. The body falls, lifeless, on the sand.
Everything appears to match the crime scene, mon cher Hastings. That is exactly what happened. Without the ABC, we might have suspected Mr. Asher and Mr. Fraser. But by signing his crimes, the murderer is making sure he's accused. In a way, it is very generous of him.
Generous? The murderer seduced Betty in order to lure her to the beach and kill her.
Indeed, the young woman was certainly careless, but not stupid enough to follow a stranger.
What are you planning to do, Poirot?
Return to London, mon cher Hastings. Right, back to London. There is nothing more for us to do here.